Stephen Colbert's show has been canceled. It's great. Great news, is it not?
This is incredible on so many levels, and I'm going to call him on this.
I love how they claimed it's a financial reason, but everything is a financial reason, right? If you open up a restaurant, you serve lousy food, people stop coming, you close it, you don't say because the food sucked. You said, well, it was a financial reason. But they didn't just they didn't cancel his show. They canceled the whole show.
Yeah.
This was a quote institution, and they said rather than put somebody in his place, they just said we're closing up. I mean, imagine being a chef. You know, you're such a bad chef that they cancel food.
When Stephen Colbert's show got axed, Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld didn't just react. They unleashed a storm of razor-sharp takedowns and unapologetic fire. They didn't hold back for a second, shredding his fading legacy like a couple of critics at an all-you-can-eat comedy buffet. Gone were the hollow chuckles, the sanctimonious speeches, and the painfully desperate skits, stripped bare and exposed for what they truly were, empty echoes pretending to be humor. This wasn't your average roast. It was a full-scale public autopsy of a career gone cold. Colbert didn't make a graceful exit. He was dragged from the stage, piece by piece, under the weight of every sarcastic jab thrown his way.
Matt Bellany, founding partner of Puck News and formerly Hollywood Reporter. The timing and optics, he says, are terrible for the Colbert cancellation. Not true, not true, not true. The timing and optics are perfect. Only leftists think that the timing and optics are terrible because they think somehow this was retaliatory because Stephen Colbert was ripping on CBS for entering into that $16 million settlement with Donald Trump, who was suing them over the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview and the edited clips, claiming it was a deceptive practice under Texas law.
It's amazing. I mean, I guess he's less popular than Shingles, but you get this, it's so obvious. You can't do a comedy show and a sermon at the same time. Your job is to say something funny, not being the show that says, that's not funny, about all the things that are just too grim to talk about.
Stephen Colbert's cancellation wasn't just predictable. It was practically marked in ink months in advance. The real shocker is that it took this long for the network to realize the emperor wasn't just unclothed. He was out of jokes, out of charm, and running purely on fumes of self-importance. You could probably fuel a rocket with his arrogance, but you couldn't power a single laugh with it. For years, he masqueraded as a comedian, dishing out reheated takes straight from the social media leftovers bin. And now, at last, the curtain has finally dropped on what might be the longest, most pretentious eye roll ever televised.
Yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of the Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away. And I do want to say that the folks at CBS have been great partners. I'm so grateful to the Tiffany Network for giving me this chair and this beautiful theater to call home. And of course, I'm grateful to you, the audience, who have joined us.
Megyn Kelly didn't just sit back with popcorn for this spectacular collapse. She showed up with evidence, attitude, and enough energy to light up the whole studio. Watching her dismantle Colbert's so-called legacy felt like witnessing a courtroom brawl where the defendant was a failed clown and the judge had already given up. She tore through his career highlights like a teacher grading a hopeless student who tried to pass off TikTok jokes as deep thought. The verdict was brutal but deserved. A giant red F stamped right on top of a sad, wrinkled participation ribbon.
Here's Stephen Colbert grappling with that news.
Now, if, like me, you're wondering why the Department of Energy is the one making this judgment, it's because that agency oversees a network of U.S. national laboratories, some of which conduct advanced biological research. No. Bad energy department. No biolabs until you finish building your electric car charging station.
Greg Gutfeld didn't just come to critique, he came to bury what was left. If Megyn Kelly was a surgeon slicing through the nonsense, Gutfeld was a wildfire torching everything in sight. He treated Colbert's cancellation like the grand finale at a demolition derby, watching every shattered piece of credibility crash in glorious fashion. This is the same man who's seen Colbert try to out-funny a brick wall and lose miserably every single time. Gutfeld's reaction wasn't surprise, it was delicious satisfaction. The kind that builds up after years of watching someone juggle ego, arrogance, and mediocrity until it all finally comes crashing down in one epic collapse.
No, here's a sample of what his show looked like in recent months. And this, I would submit to you, is why Stephen Colbert's show is no more.
Going
Top
on in
five.
LA reminds us that as citizens, it is crucial to speak out against Trump's fascist impulses, his rampant corruption, and his egregious violations of our norms and our laws. The last time a president bypassed a governor to send in the National Guard was 1965, when LBJ used troops to protect civil rights demonstrators in Alabama. So we've come full circle. Troops were deployed to protect protesters by Lyndon B. Johnson, and now they're being used to threaten protesters.
Colbert's comedic downfall didn't strike like lightning. It was a painfully slow crash that took nearly a decade to unfold. Once upon a time, he was sharp, genuinely sharp. His Comedy Central days had bite, wit, and flashes of brilliance that didn't sound like they were written during a group meditation for overworked wine enthusiasts. But when he moved to late-night TV, he did what every fame-fading performer eventually does. He traded his originality for approval. Suddenly, his once edgy satire became a lifeless echo chamber. The Stephen Colbert who once made people think and laugh was replaced by a tired persona sighing its way through moral monologues. If self-importance had a theme song, it would have been the background music of his entire show.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on Seven Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show.
Colbert didn't tell jokes. He managed applause like a conductor leading a choir of self-congratulation. Every monologue felt less like comedy and more like a moral lecture under dim lighting, complete with smug claps from an audience that looked like they'd wandered in from a yoga retreat. They didn't laugh because he was funny. They laughed because they agreed. And that's not humor. That's emotional group therapy disguised as entertainment. Megyn Kelly exposed this with surgical precision and the gleeful sharpness of someone who never fell for the illusion. She reminded everyone that Colbert's downfall wasn't some orchestrated takedown. It was self-inflicted. He ran out of jokes and leaned too hard on every cliche in the progressive comedian's playbook. You know the one, sneering at middle America, mocking Walmart shoppers, and clutching pearls over every court decision like it canceled his next vacation.
I'm not happy about the fight, but I'm just saying I'm not like sad and all these people are like forlorn over. It's like, all right, grow up. They're having a dispute. It was bound to happen. They'll get past it. As you point out, Trump is extremely forgiving, and I'm sure Elon is too. I mean, Trump's not, whatever. Laura Ingraham reported last night she's been told it's irreparable. Nothing is irreparable with Donald Trump. Nothing is irreparable. But here's how the late night losers were making fun of it.
Elon gave us a fun one. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
Gutfeld didn't even have to dig deep. He just hit play on Colbert's greatest flops and let the disaster speak for itself. The vaccine dance, the painfully awkward sketches, those bizarre presidential bits written by someone who clearly thought satire meant waving jazz hands at the news. It was all there in glorious chaos. And the interviews? Lifeless. You'd find more energy in a car dealership balloon man flapping in the wind. Watching Colbert question celebrities felt like witnessing someone read Wikipedia out loud while silently begging for rescue. Somewhere along the way, he traded comedy for a pulpit, preaching like a self-declared prophet with a diploma and a grudge against patriotism. His jokes didn't make people laugh. They made them nod politely through clenched smiles. Every punchline sounded like a lecture ending in forced applause, the kind that says, "We get it. Now can we please go home?"
It's the dust. You know, we beat all these guys at my show, and we're only in 61 million homes. CBS reaches nearly 300 million Americans. They don't talk about that. He also had 200 staffers. I employ nothing but teenage runaways. And by the way, I don't even pay them.
Megyn Kelly sliced through the chaos with icy precision and a smirk that could cut glass. She exposed how Colbert transformed into a walking echo chamber, a performer pretending to be profound while serving recycled ideology on a silver platter. She didn't just mock his collapse, she analyzed it like a scientist studying the extinction of a once great species. And when that blind loyalty faded, so did the applause. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld turned the fiasco into tragic comedy. Colbert, once the rebel of satire, now reduced to background noise nobody wanted, but everyone tolerated. Gutfeld compared him to an airport TV, noisy, pointless, and impossible to escape. You could practically hear executives panic each time his ratings nosedived into oblivion. They threw him everything: fancier guests, flashier sets, even dancing props. Yet the audience still vanished like air from a sinking balloon. They never stopped to ask the only question that mattered: is this even funny anymore? Because for years, the answer echoed louder than any applause, a resounding, painful no.
Would you look at this?
There are quite a few billionaires who support you. You are from Northern California, after all, where they grow them in fields out there. Who's your favorite billionaire? Because we all have a favorite billionaire. On three. 1, 2, 3. Oprah. I'm sorry. I claimed Oprah. You can't take her now.
What's happened to him is what happens to virtually every news personality and late night personality and host of popular shows, podcasts, etc., which is they start getting invited to parties with
Megyn Kelly didn't just tease Colbert's collapse. She blew the whole late-night illusion to pieces. The canned laughter, the rehearsed interviews, the fake, authentic moments. She ripped the curtain wide open. She said what millions were already thinking. Colbert wasn't entertaining. He was predictable. And in comedy, predictability kills faster than silence. He became a magician stuck repeating the same tired trick until even the rabbit looked embarrassed to show up. Gutfeld couldn't stop laughing as Colbert's downfall played out live, like a souffle collapsing under its own ego. Ratings plummeted, viewers vanished, and advertisers treated his time slot like an unwanted bill. Still, Colbert smiled and doubled down on the same stale act that doomed him from the start. His humor became stiff, hollow, and about as funny as a tax seminar taught by a motivational speaker.
Costs more than $100 million a year to produce and is losing more than $40 million a year. That's unbelievable. So net, it takes in about 60. It's losing $40 million a year. He writes CBS execs had been mulling for a long time whether to pull the plug.
This is amazing for so many reasons, but culturally it's so indicative of it's another nail.
Megyn Kelly attacked the fiasco with the fury of someone who'd been waiting years for the mask to finally fall. She reminded everyone that comedy only survives on one thing: being funny. No amount of applause or politics can save a performer who's lost his spark. Colbert wasn't canceled for being bold. He was canceled for being boring. Gutfeld didn't just roast him. He burned down the entire system that kept him afloat. The celebrity cameos, the empty rants, the choreographed outrage. He exposed it all as elitist performance art pretending to be humor. When the crowd finally stopped pretending to laugh, the illusion shattered like glass. What remained was a lonely man at a desk, surrounded by silence. Megyn and Greg made one thing crystal clear: Colbert didn't lose his audience. He chased them away. He turned comedy into detention, and his viewers into students forced to stay after class. Each episode felt like a sigh, dressed up as satire. Every joke a tired lecture for people still stuck in 2016. Even his staff looked drained, their laughter hollow, their claps robotic, like actors paid to pretend the emperor still had jokes.
He's a terrible man. I really think he's just not a good guy. I mean, he completely took that show, which was a great sort of platform in nighttime television, and the Ed Sullivan Theater, and completely drove it into the ground. He had originally been at Comedy Central, where he was more comedy. And when he moved over to CBS, he decided to be more pundit. He desperately wanted to be Keith Olbermann. And guess what? Keith Olbermann is a failure. And now so are you, Stephen Colbert.
Megyn and Greg landed on one brutal truth: you can't build a legacy on pure attitude and empty vibes. Eventually, someone checks the receipts, and Colbert's were nothing but faded paychecks and dusty cue cards. Megyn's sarcasm hit like a laser as she listed his desperate stunts to stay relevant: the dancing syringes, the awkward inflation songs, the random political inserts that felt like uninvited guests at a party. None of it worked, because when a joke needs a footnote to be understood, it's not comedy, it's homework. Gutfeld sealed the deal with his signature sting, comparing Colbert's show to a vegan burger, overprocessed, colorless, and loved only by people pretending to enjoy it. This wasn't just a business cancellation. It was poetic justice, delivered one clumsy monologue at a time. Megyn and Greg didn't need to be cruel. The truth did the damage for them. Colbert's collapse became a living lesson in what happens when applause replaces authenticity. In the end, the only ones still clapping were the ones paid to be there, or too polite to stand up and leave.
All right. Last Monday, Stephen Colbert tore into Donald Trump like a giant orange burrito. Now, before I roll the tape, I must warn you that it's very lewd, so turn it up so everyone can hear it.
You attract more skinheads than free Rogaine. You have more people marching against you than cancer. You talk like a sign language gorilla who got hit in the head. In fact, the only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's holster.
Now, of course, we had to bleep it, but you get the joke. He said Trump was having sex with Putin. Was it offensive? I don't know. I've done worse.
And just like that, Stephen Colbert's so-called legacy dissolved into a punchline inside someone else's monologue. Ironically, that joke might be the first one linked to his name that actually gets a real laugh. The grand era of Colbert's late-night reign didn't end in fireworks. It fizzled out like a sparkler left in the rain. Now he's just another cautionary tale hanging in the crumbling hall of late-night flops, right between Jimmy Fallon Tries Too Hard and James Corden sings In Traffic. Again, you'd think Colbert might reinvent himself, rise again with fresh energy. But no, he quietly faded like a beige screensaver no one bothered to move the mouse for. The man didn't just run out of jokes, he ran out of meaning. Megyn Kelly made sure the world saw through the illusion. Every speech of his sounded less like comedy and more like a hostage reading cue cards. Gutfeld caught the irony perfectly. After years of mocking others for losing touch, Colbert became the most disconnected man on TV. Watching Gutfeld rip through his moral superiority was like hearing metal grind. Rough, raw, but oh so satisfying. There's a strange poetry in it all. A man who mocked cancel culture, quietly canceled by irrelevance itself. No explosions, no drama, just silence. Because what's worse than being canceled? Being forgotten? Colbert's legacy won't burn. It'll collect dust, right next to that sad dancing syringe, waiting for someone to remember why it ever mattered.